There are times when, in spite of great difficulties, jobs are needed to be done, projects are needed to be finished on time, and services are needed to be provided. Employees in the production lines tend to be irritated by delays in the arrival of necessary production materials and supplies. Workers complain when difficult jobs are assigned to their units. When calamities strike, employees of public works and agencies need more than wages to complete assigned tasks as quickly as possible. These and other difficulties found in the workplaces provide sufficient reasons for poor productivity. The situations cited require managers with effective leadership. There are many instances, however, when the ill effects of whatever shortcomings happen. They seriously affect the performance of workers. Effective leadership tends to neutralize such difficulties. Good working conditions, however, cannot overcome the disadvantages of bad leadership. These are proven by many cases which occurred in the past and even in modern times. Successful firms regard leadership skill requirements as a high priority concern. Big companies like Warner, Shell, Fuji Xerox, and Daewoo are seriously involved in training their managers to become effective leaders. Engineer managers in whatever management level they happen to be are not exempted from problem of effective leadership. If this is really so, then they must be concerned with the management function of leading. What is leading? Leading is the management function which involves influencing others to engage in the work behaviors necessary to reach organizational goals. The definition indicates that a person or group of persons tasked with managing a group must assume the role performed by leaders. While leading refers to the function, leadership refers to the process. This week's lesson will cover the following topics: how leaders influence others, the nature of leadership, behavioral approaches to leadership skills, and contingency approaches to leadership style. How leaders influence others. Engineering managers are expected to maintain effective workforces. To be able to do so, they are required to perform leadership roles. Leaders are said to be able to influence others because of the power they possess. Power refers to the ability of the leader to exert force on another. The power possessed by leaders may be classified according to various bases. They are as follows: legitimate power, reward power, coercive power, referent power, and expert power. A person who occupies a higher position has legitimate power over persons in lower positions within the organization. A supervisor, for instance, can issue orders to the workers in his unit. Compliance can be expected. Reward power. When a person has ability to give rewards to anybody who follows orders or requests, he is said to have reward power. Rewards may be classified into two forms: material reward and psychological reward. Material rewards refer to the money or other tangible benefits like cars, house and lot, etc. Psychological rewards consist of recognition, praises, and others. When a person compels another to comply with orders through threats or punishment, he is said to possess coercive power. Punishment may take the form of demotion, dismissal, withholding of promotion, and etc. For referent power, when a person can get compliance from another because the latter would want to be identified with the former, that person is said to have a referent power. An expert power, so this is for experts who provide specialized information regarding their specific lines of expertise. This influence, called expert power, is possessed by people with great skills in technology. The expert power exercised by environmental scientists was enough to force governments throughout the world to pass legislations favorable to environmental protection. The nature of leadership. Leadership may be referred to as the process of influencing and supporting others to work enthusiastically toward achieving objectives. Leadership is expected of any manager in charge of any unit or division. One cannot expect a unit or division to achieve objectives in the absence of effective leadership. Even if a leader is present, but if he is not functioning properly, no unit or division of objectives can be expected to achieve. There are certain leadership traits identified by researchers and which may be useful in developing effective leaders. These traits are as follows: high level of personal drive, the desire to lead, personal integrity, self-confidence, analytical ability or judgment, knowledge of the company, industry, or technology, charisma, creativity, and flexibility. Let's go over these traits one by one. The first one is personal drive. Persons with drive are those identified as willing to accept responsibility, possess vigor, initiative, persistence, and health. Drive is a very important leadership trait because of the possibility of failure in every attempt to achieve certain goals. If a chosen way to reach a goal is not successful, a leader must find another way to reach it, even if it precedes a succession of failed attempts. This will of course require a high level of personal drive from the leader. Next is the desire to lead. There are some persons who have all the qualifications for leadership, yet they could not become leaders because they lack one special requirement: the desire to lead. Even if they are forced to act as leaders, they will not be effective because their efforts will be half-hearted. Leaders with desire to lead will always have a reservoir of extra efforts which can be used whenever needed. Next is personal integrity. A person who is well regarded by others as one who has integrity possesses one trait of a leader. One who does not have personal integrity will have a hard time convincing his subordinates about the necessity of completing various tasks. If this is the case, the leader will then resort to exercising his authority and getting things done entirely by the use of threat or use of coercive powers vested in him by virtue of the rank position he occupies in the hierarchy. If this happens, the economic and emotional costs will be too high to be maintained for a desirable length of time. As it is, the better option is to have personal integrity. According to V.K. Zaraf, integrity means and includes honesty, honor, incorruptibility, rectitude, righteousness, uprightness, and similar virtues. The activities of leaders require moves that will produce the needed outputs. The steps of conceptualizing, organizing, and implementing will be completed if sustained efforts are made. For the moves to be continuous and precise, self-confidence is necessary. McKinsey and Company found in a study they conducted that leaders of mid-size, high-growth companies were almost inevitably consummate salesmen who radiate enormous contagious self-confidence. Wes Roberts was very precise when he declared the following as one of the traits of a good leader. A leader cannot win if he loses his nerve. He should be self-confident and self-reliant, and even if he does not win, he will know he has done his best. Leaders are oftentimes faced with difficulties that prevent the completion of assigned tasks. A subordinate, for instance, may have a record of continually failing to produce the needed output. A leader with sufficient skill to determine the root cause of the problem may be able to help the subordinate to improve his production. The ability to analyze is one desirable trait that a leader can use to tide him over many challenging aspects of leadership. A leader who is well informed about his company, the industry where the company belongs to, and the technology utilized by the industry will be in a better position to provide directions to his unit. A company, for example, may be the industry leader because it satisfies the need of its particular market, example, providing quality products at affordable prices. When a competing firm is fast catching up with the leader, and the leader's managers know this, they will better serve the interest of their company. When a person has sufficient personal magnetism that leads people to follow his directives, this person is said to have charisma. Great personalities in history like Napoleon Bonaparte, Julius Caesar, George Washington, Elvis Presley, and others are said to possess charisma. This characteristic was greatly responsible for whatever accomplishments they achieved. When used properly, charisma will help the leader in achieving his goals. With some adjustments, subordinates may be expected to do their tasks willingly. Ronnie Miljevo defines creativity as the ability to combine existing data, experience, and preconditions from various sources in such a way that the results will be subjectively regarded as new, valuable, and innovative as a direct solution to an identified problem situation. As leaders are tasked to provide solutions to problems besetting their particular units or divisions, creativity will be a very useful trait. Problems are oftentimes complex and challenging, and if they are, the leaders will need all the creative abilities he has. And finally, flexibility. People differ in a way they do their work. One will adopt a different method from another person's method. A leader who allows this situation as long as the required outputs are produced is said to be flexible. There is wisdom in being flexible. It allows the other means of achieving goals when a prescribed manner is not appropriate. Leaders need to have various skills to be effective. These are technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills. These skills are used in varying degrees at different management levels. As the graph shows, human skills are required from lower management level up to the top management level. Conceptual skills and technical skills, however, are inversely proportional. As you go up the management level, you are expected to have more conceptual skills in exchange for your technical skills. There are skills a leader must possess to enable him to understand and make decisions about work processes, activities, and technology. Technical skill is a specialized knowledge needed to perform a job. When a leader has a technical skill related to his area of responsibility, he will be more confident in performing his functions. The engineer manager, for instance, must be able to perform engineering jobs if he wants to maintain a motivated workforce. The engineer manager of a construction firm must have sufficient technical skills to undertake construction work. The manager of an electrical engineering firm must possess the skill to install and maintain electrical facilities and equipment. These skills refer to the ability of leader to deal with people, both inside and outside the organization. Good leaders must know how to get along with people, motivate them, and inspire them. Apart from motivating, human skills include coaching, communicating, morale building, training and development, help and supportiveness, and delegating. Conceptual skills. These skills refer to the ability to think in abstract terms, to see how parts fit together to form the whole. A very basic requirement for effective implementation is a clear and well-expressed presentation of what must be done. A leader without sufficient conceptual skills will fail to achieve this. Now let's take a look at behavioral approaches to leadership styles. Those in positions of leadership exhibit a pattern of behavior that is unique and different from other patterns. This total pattern of behavior is called leadership style. There are several approaches used in classifying leadership styles. They are as follows. Number 1, according to the ways leaders approach people to motivate them. Number 2, according to the way the leader uses power. And number 3, according to the leader's orientation towards tasks and people. There are two ways a leader may approach people to motivate them. They are number 1, positive leadership, and number 2, the negative leadership. When leaders' approach emphasizes rewards, the style used is positive leadership. The reward may be economic, like an increase in salary, or it may be non-economic, like membership in an advisory committee. When punishment is emphasized by the leader, the style is said to be negative leadership. The punishment may take the form of reprimand, suspension, or dismissal. Leaders sometimes alternately use positive and negative leadership, depending on the characteristics of the individual subordinates. Leadership styles also vary according to how power is used. They are as follows. Number 1, autocratic leaders. Number 2, participative leaders. And number 3 is a free-rein leaders. Leaders who make decisions themselves without consulting subordinates are called autocratic leaders. Motivation takes the form of threats, punishment, and intimidation of all kinds. Autocratic style is effective in emergencies and when absolute followership is needed. An example is a civil engineer in charge of constructing a temporary bridge over one that has been currently damaged. The disadvantages of autocratic leadership is that the leader receives little information and ideas from his people as inputs into his decision making. When a leader openly invites his subordinates to participate or share in decisions, policy making, and operation methods, he is said to be a participative leader. The advantage of participative leadership is that it generates a lot of good ideas. Another advantage is the increased support for decisions and the reduction of the chance that they will be unexpectedly undermined. The disadvantage of participative leadership is that it is time-consuming and frustrating to people who prefer to see a quick decision reached. Leaders who set objectives and allow employees or subordinates relative freedom to do whatever it takes to accomplish these objectives are called free-rein leaders. This leadership style is most applicable to certain organizations manned by professionals like doctors and engineers. An example is the engineering department of a university which is headed by the dean. If free-rein leadership fits the situation, there is full managerial delegation resulting to optimum utilization of time and resources. This happens because many people are motivated to full effort only if given this kind of free rein. The weakness of free rein leadership is that there is very little managerial control and a high degree of risk. If the leader does not know well the competence and integrity of his people and their ability to handle this kind of freedom, the result could be disastrous. Leaders may be classified according to how they view tasks and people. Consequently, a leader may either be employee-oriented or task-oriented. A leader is said to be employee-oriented when he considers employees as human beings of intrinsic importance and with individual and personal need to satisfy. A leader is said to be task-oriented if he places stress on production and the technical aspects of the job, and the employees are viewed as the means of getting the work done. Contingency approaches to leadership style. The contingency approach is an effort to determine through research which managerial practices and techniques are appropriate in specific situations. The various contingency approaches that we are going to discuss in this lesson are the following: Fiedler's contingency model, Hersey and Blanchard's situational leadership model, path-goal model of leadership, and Bloom's decision-making model. According to Fred Fiedler, leadership is effective when the leader's style is appropriate to the situation. The situational characteristics is determined by three principal factors. Number one, the relations between leaders and followers, the structure of the task, and number three, the power inherent in leader's position. The situational characteristics vary from organization to organization. To be effective, the situation must fit the leader. If this is not so, the following may be tried. Number one, change the leader's trait or behaviors. Number two, select leaders who have traits or behaviors fitting the situation. Number three, move leaders around in the organization until they are in positions that fit them. Number four, change the situation. The situational leadership model developed by Hersey and Blanchard suggests that the most important factor affecting the selection of the leader's style is the development or maturity level of subordinate. The leader should match his or her style to his maturity level. Maturity has two components: job skills and knowledge, and psychological maturity. Blanchard and others elaborated on the leadership style appropriate for various maturity level of subordinates. They are as follows. Style 1, directing, is for people who lack competence but are enthusiastic and committed. They need direction and supervision to get them started. Number 2 is coaching. This is for people who have some ability or competence but lack commitment. They need direction and supervision because they are still relatively inexperienced. They also need support and praise to build their self-esteem and involvement in decision-making to restore their commitment. Style 3 is supporting. This is for people who have competence but lack of confidence or motivation. They do not need much direction because of their skills, but support is necessary to bolster their confidence and motivation. Style number 4 is delegating. This is for people who have both competence and commitment. They are able and willing to work on a project by themselves with little supervision or support. The path goal model of leadership espoused by Robert House and Terence Mitchell stipulates that leadership can be made effective because leaders can influence subordinates' perception of their work goals, personal goals, and path to goal attainment. By using the path goal model, it is assumed that effective leaders can enhance subordinate motivation by clarifying the subordinate's perception of work goals, linking meaningful rewards with the goal attainment, and explaining how goals and desired rewards can be achieved. The path goal process is shown in this diagram. So it starts with the leader identifying the employee needs. Then based on those needs, appropriate goals are established. The leader then links the rewards with the goals, and the leader provides assistance on employee uh, towards achievement of the goals. Employee becomes satisfied and motivated and they accept the leader. The employee will now perform effectively in the workplace and both employees and organization reach their goals. The leadership styles in which may be used in path goal proponents are the following. Number one, directive leadership, where the leader focuses on clear task assignments, standards of successful performance, and work schedules. Number two is supportive leadership, where subordinates are treated as equals in a friendly manner while striving to improve their well-being. Participative leadership is where the leader consults with subordinates to seek their suggestions and then seriously considers those suggestions when making decisions. The achievement-oriented leadership is where the leader set challenging goals, emphasize excellence, seek continuous improvement while maintaining a high degree of confidence that subordinates will meet difficult challenges in a responsible manner. Bloom's model of leadership is one that prescribes the proper leadership style for various situations, focusing on the appropriate degrees of delegation of decision-making authority. Five distinct decision-making styles are identified under the Bloom model. Two of them are autocratic, two others are consultative, and one is group-directed. Under the autocratic leadership, the first version is the leader solves the problem or makes the decision himself using any available information, and there is no participation from the subordinate. The variation of that is leader obtains necessary information from subordinates and then make the decision. There is a low degree of subordinate participation in the decision making. Another decision making style is the consultative leadership. Leader approaches subordinates individually, getting their ideas, then makes decision, and leader shares the problem with subordinates as a group, obtaining their collective ideas and suggestions, then decides. Both these uh, decision-making styles, have moderate degree of subordinate participation. The third one with a high degree of subordinate participation is group-directed, where the leader shares the problem with subordinates as a group, lets the group generate and evaluate alternative solutions, and then collectively decides. Leadership and management must go hand in hand. They are not the same things, but they are necessarily linked and complementary. A manager's job is to plan, organize, and control, while the leader's job is to inspire and motivate. Any effort to separate the two is likely to cause more problem than it solves. For this week's discussion board, of the traits of the leader discussed in this lesson, which you feel is the most important? Cite an example to explain your choice.